So, my next question is, in you guys' opinion, what's appropriate age to get married?
Well, the appropriate age to be honest with you for a man. So my understanding is different between men and women.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
agree. Yep.
right. So for men, to be honest with you, whenever you are able to one afford a house, that's a big thing. Have your own car, and then you have to make sure that your salary is enough to provide if you want to have children, to provide for the amount of children that you want to have, and then also um, for women. So there isn't really an age for men. If I would say so, in this day and age, it would be in your 30s. It will be in your 30s because that's normally when you actually, if you are in a career that's lateral, then that is mostly when you will actually have all that money saved up, where you're living comfortably, you're paying your bills, you're mostly probably almost college debt, your college loans are gone, or
Yeah.
you're almost about to pay those off, so that you can supplement those monies that you was having paying those bills, and invested that back into your family
Yep.
to protect yourself. So it
Yep.
would be in your 30s now.
Okay.
Um,
Are we
and
talking? Are we talking mid 30s, middle 30s? Are we?
I would say the safest would be your mid 30s
Okay.
to be
That's
safe.
kind of what I was thinking, like the 32 to 35 range.
Okay. Yeah, I
And
was
yeah,
thinking 32 to 35. Yeah, 32 to 35.
yeah.
And
What about you, D? What is your perspective on that? What is your age you think?
I think for men, yeah, y'all are spot on for men for sure because that's important. In particular, now more than ever for even a man too, it's important for you to even be able to protect and provide safely so
Hmm.
that your when I think about children, your woman is able to hopefully be able to raise children and be able to teach them and guide them. So certainly you need to be at least I would prefer graduated from college for a woman because I
mhm,
think by that time she's taken in, some know-how of how to operate within the world and
Okay.
education to be able to pass on to the child. So I would say like 22, like 21, 22, 23, to where you're really putting yourself in the place of being found. Right,
For
so
okay,
you may
so
not
for a
know where
woman,
you're.
so you're saying for a woman 21 to 24?
Yeah, I would
Wow.
think for
So
a safe only in
Wow.
particular
so when
because for one, I am a firm advocate of you not getting married and having kids right away. Like at the same
Okay.
time, like, once
Okay.
you've gotten married, take some time to enjoy yourself. You don't want to add in children so fast because you're already just putting challenges, right? Raising children is a
Yeah.
challenge. And you're just
Yeah.
introducing challenges when you're still trying to get adjusted to the whole marriage life. Like, don't set yourself up like that. So, you adequately want to be able to enjoy your husband, get on his program, understand him. I spent a lot of our time just getting to know my husband. Like before we
mhm.
had children, I think I was 23 when we had our first son. So but
Wow.
we got married when I was 21. So
Okay.
within that time, I was able to, just get to know him and I was working and stuff like that, but I was understanding our dynamic, our roles. How did he like the house? How do I like the house? How do I, how can I get comfortable of doing, the day-to-day life for us and then adding in children and stuff. You don't if you marry it within like 30 or even like 27, 28, your mind is naturally on, okay, I got to hurry up and have kids. I want to hurry up and have kids. I don't want to have a difficult pregnancy. I don't want to be struggling with this. Man and
Wow.
woman,
Okay.
So
I
we
didn't
want
think
to
about it
not
that
bring
way.
yeah,
that.
Cause
so, so
I was thinking 25 to 29. Cause you brought up a good point. You brought up a good point. Like women should graduate college, figure out kind of career wise. And that was another question I was gonna ask. And then really understanding and learning your husband and also being in tune of being a mother, potential mother. So you're saying so your age range you're talking is 21 to 25? Is
Yeah,
that kind of
I think 25 is maybe too high. I would go as the top 24, like you said, 21 to 24, to
so
where you're actually looking to get married to where you're married by 25, like at the
okay?
latest. Like
I
you're
was
actually,
thinking
you want to have that time of even being engaged.
I was thinking
so
25 to 29.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
too late. I mean, to be
You
honest,
think
because
it's too late? Okay.
your mind frame is different. Your mind frame's already on, like, during that time you're like, all right, I'm ready for this. I want to do this, this, and this. And then even so, you're kind of stuck in your ways so much that you're
Okay.
less receptive to a man and being able to merge your life with him. By that time, you've lived on your own for a good amount of time where you like things where you like things. And so you're less receptive to if a man tells you, oh, well, I like this a little bit like this. You're more like, no, I've been doing this for this long. My way is just fine. You know what I'm saying? It's a little less easy to blend realities with a mind that's so what you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Right.
So
That's
you
true.
don't
And
you
that in women,
you
our brains process and receive at an earlier age. We stopped developing our brains at like I think it was 14
But the growth, your brain
growth.
growth is fully at full growth at 14 for women.
Right, at 14 for women. So if you're thinking about that being the disciplines that she's learned naturally within her mind of the habits and behaviors that she has
okay.
taken on, if that's
Okay.
already set in stone by that age, and then you're adding in immersing yourself into the life environment, you're taking in new perspectives and realities, and hopefully that's what a lot of it you learn through college. You have come to understand yourself, at least what you value out of life as a woman. That's what a lot of women, they're like, oh, I don't know, I want to get the time to know myself. Well, it don't take you too long to know yourself if you're actively looking to know yourself. You have to be deliberate and intentional. If that time is going to be for that, then also utilize it for a time to meet men that of a caliber of where they would be good husbands. That in particular is that's the biggest opportunity for you to reach and connect a large amount of men at one time, because after you have left the college scene,
It's the work.
the only other place is work. And if you don't want to date with anybody within your job of where you're at, you're less likely to meet that partner, that spouse, because you're not going out too much. You're working, you done settled into your day-to-day life. You're not introduced to all the men that you could possibly be a wife to. And so you got to take advantage of those optimal times for you to set yourself up for the best results. And that's really what it's about.
so
Let me ask a question about that. But go ahead, Jay. I got some questions about
so
this.
my question then is like, so just based on what you both just said, like, and we all seem to have come to a consensus on. For women, it seems to be 21 to 25, and for men, it seems to be 32 to 35, right? So, like that, the age ranges don't necessarily
Yeah,
match up.
that's where I was.
So how
Yeah.
how per se do you say, like, because I don't know about y'all, but 21 to 25, I wouldn't
20
necessarily.
that's I was gonna add to that. Okay, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
right? 21 to 29, right, is what you're saying, right? As far as a woman should get married.
25.
21, I'm sorry, 21 to 25. A man, do you agree a man 32 to 35?
Yes. Yeah. And then because of that shape, if I can take this, because as a woman in particular, when you're choosing to be a wife, you have one or two options. One, you're going to get married with a man who's younger, and that is that homogamous relationship that a lot of women love to fantasize about, because you're getting that younger partner, that spouse, that younger guy that looks good, that has that swag, that has that, all of that, because y'all are of the same age. That
Okay.
is ideally if you want to be married and then be building a life with a man. That is your ideal age to get with him when he is, in that environment. So if you're at
The
that age, if
struggle
you
of.
want to do that struggle of, exactly. But if you are wanting to be married and have that soft life, like a lot of women nowadays are idolizing, they don't want to have to contribute to a man being a man. That's where a lot of our culture has come from. They don't want to do the work for that. Well, okay, if that is the case, then if you want a man who is all together, ready for you to go, and you're willing to compete with the other women amongst the finish line, waiting for this man who is all put together, that age is going to be within 32 and whatever, 32, 35 or higher, whatever how high you want to go.
I
That's the reality of the situation that women have to deal with and face. And I recognize that at a young age. Like, okay, let me see. If you're willing to bet on potential, and you're good at your discernment, and you're able to be comfortable in doing and taking that bet, then go for it, do that. But if you're not willing to do that, and you want that man to give you that prenup, and you're willing to sign up quickly, right along the line and fall into line, then sure, he's going to have to be an older man, because that younger man is not going to be able to do that. But,
Okay. Oh,
ideally, that's it.
okay,
She
Rob.
got
Let me ask you a question, Rob, because I really want to diagnose this, right? Because
Mhm.
I don't want this to turn into controversial or anything like that. But let
It
me
will.
ask you a question, Rob. Because I think this is a good topic. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
sway anybody's opinion. But let me ask you a question, Rob. The time you married your wife, right, D,
Mhm.
at the age between 21 and 25, right? Her learning to be a wife, her understanding how to be a wife at that age, did you see that as being rare?
I did not.
You did not.
No, I didn't think. To be honest with you, I didn't think much of it. To be honest with you, I
Wow.
found that out now that's
Oh,
how rare it is.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay. That there
yeah,
it is right there. So you find that out that it's rare now. So do you think women between the ages of 21 and 25 aren't taking the same steps your wife did?
of course.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
You
No,
said you
That's
said
why we
you said
created wifeconomics.com.
yeah,
so you
that's
so
right.
so you think they are or they you think they
no,
are or
you
they're
said
not?
they're not. They're
No, they're
They're
not.
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 They're
No,
not.
they're not.
So that
No.
brings me to my point. So you're saying women should get married at the age between 21 and 25, right?
Mhm.
Rob thinks that women between 21 and 25 aren't learning to get married
No,
or
not
to
at
be a
all.
wife.
So that
No,
seems
not at
like
So
all.
there's a
there's
whole
there's
lot
a
of
do you see the so I'm like, that's why I said I think 25 to 29. And I wanted to ask this, right? At the age of 21 to 25, right? You graduate from college. And this is my opinion, I think women have a choice. They either can learn to be in a relationship or they can learn how to establish a career, right? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, are women now taking more of a path to, I'm going to build a career, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to learn how to provide, and when the time is right, as time goes by, I'll learn how to be a wife.
Yeah,
Do you
but
think?
that, like y'all said, that doesn't merge. It doesn't, that's not the reality. You have one or two choices. And if you make that choice, you have to accept all the consequences that come with that choice. So, regardless of if you miss that window of opportunity or not, you and everything within you is going to feel all the ramifications for not doing things in an optimal time. Like, that's just, I mean, that's why,
I agree. I
yeah.
agree. But I think Miss D, the way you learn to be a wife at the age between 21 and 25 is very rare. It's
It
very
is.
rare. It's
It
very
is.
rare. I don't think women between 21 and 25 are learning how to be a wife. They're
But
not.
They're not.
but this is the thing, they used to.
Yeah,
If you look at
They
they
the
used
used
ages
to.
to.
of
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
right.
But
If
that
they
came from their mothers.
I want to. So
No,
Rob, what were
yeah,
you?
yes and no. Yes
right.
That
and
came
no. I
from,
think
yeah.
it was more culturally accepted. It was more what was pushed out of a woman wanting to be a wife. See, now what we're seeing more than ever is that desire to get that bag and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
reality of that is less than 6% of women actually make $100,000 and more to sustain them for a lifetime. And that is a huge number that is a reality. So you can hope and wish on a star all you want to, of if you're really going to be able to live and sustain the rest of your life as a single woman or not. And the choices that you make in your young is going to decide whether or not that's harder for you. That is something that we have to let people know,
No,
because
yeah.
I
people aren't aware of the choices that they're making, and like, oh, they're selling me this dream that I can do all of this, but is this really actually something that's going to take place, or am I just wishing and hoping on a star that that time will come, when in reality you have a choice. If you're choosing to want to be a wife, then you have an optimal time where you should be doing that. Now, it's not to say that it's too late. There, you certainly can be intentional, but that's where you have to really be deliberately intentional in wanting to learn how to be a wife and getting onto another man's a man's program and actually being, in that harmonious relationship with him. But unfortunately, what we're seeing is the result of a lot of people having to learn the hard way. And that's
correct.
always been the case. Like, if you don't learn the hard way, then, and have that experience for yourself, then sometimes it doesn't get you to course correct.
Right. And I wanted to add too that a lot of men who are marrying, they're not marrying same age. They're not
Right.
marrying their peers.
Because they still want
A lot of
kids.
my friends who want to get married, they want to marry younger women, and
Mm.
like 25.
Okay.
My friends around 32, 30, in that 32, 35 range.
I
They
think that's a good range. That
right.
32 to 25 is a good range. But when you talk about 35, I mean 30, you're 35 and she's 22.
Well, it
Right.
depends on as well as much as I see that women are learning to want to do that though. Like they're wanting to position themselves and seeing that more than ever, but it needs to be that opportunity for them to do so.
Right. And then
That is
also
very.
too,
I think that is
right.
very rare. That is rare because that's two different mindsets. Way two different mindsets.
Well, you see, and then also too having a younger wife. I mean, you can also teach her
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
want as far as your
Yeah.
boundaries and then what you expect and all of that. But the caveat to that is also too the protection of the providership. I'm bringing
Correct.
all this money in, and you're talking about student loans. I can possibly help you pay those, or having that house. She's moving into my house.
I don't think you're
She's
getting
driving
that.
my
I
car.
don't think you're getting that from a woman at 22 years old nowadays. I just don't.
Well, no, that's the reason why the message needs to be out there.
Right.
Yeah.
The times
Okay.
change. You see, times change, so we need to change with the times, but people are not. We're still stuck back
I
in the
agree.
in the
Well, yeah,
2000s.
I think it's actually though a pendulum shift, and what is
Okay.
happening though, it's kind of shifting in a way to where women are realizing one, they don't like the whole aspect of
Working.
working, and they're like, wow, why did they sell us out to now? I realize that I do have to work the rest of my life, even if I want to have children, even if I want to do this. Like this isn't the life that I'm wanting. So what we're seeing now is those older women, they're understanding the ramifications of their choices, but these younger generations are
Mm,
watching and looking, and the
okay.
girls are
Okay.
seeing that, hey, I want to be a wife, so I need to make choices and decisions based off of the women who got what I'm looking to get, not the
Okay.
women who out here are living a life that I really don't want to live when I'm older.
So you're okay. That makes sense. So you're saying that the women between the ages of 21 and 25 are seeing the older women that chose the career and saying, "Hey, I don't want to have to depend on a career for all my life and not be able to have a family, be a wife." Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the economy now more than ever is making that a harsh reality for people to face,
Yeah. Because
because
it's no longer be a
living
one
alone as a
income
single
household.
woman is expensive. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
realize that I cannot do this alone. I need a man. I
Right.
need to have,
Yeah.
and I, unless you want
Yeah.
a sister wife or a
Let me
girlfriend.
let me let me
Of
but let
course.
me throw this out there too. October
Okay.
1st is a very important date that's coming up.
Okay.
And if you all didn't know it, college loans are going to have to be paid.
Yes.
Mhm.
You're
Yes.
going to see a
Yeah.
whole lot of crazy things going on after October 1st, dealing with, a lot of women have a lot of college debt. And then also, too, if you haven't been paying it, that compounded interest.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yep.
people have
Yep.
substituted their college loans for mortgages during
Yep.
COVID.
Yep.
So with that being said, you're gonna see a lot of desperate people out here. That desperation to get married, you're gonna see that. That's why one thing that I said was I'm predicting that more people are actually going to start getting married. They're
Mhm.
gonna start realizing how hard this is by themselves, and then they're gonna have to do something different. They're gonna have to change
Okay.
this thing up because what they're currently doing and how much money they currently are making is not going to equal the same after October 1st.
But then
Oh, that's a good point. Go ahead, Jay.
here's a question for you then. I mean, you're saying that like women are starting to see the difference, but you also said that, you make a choice between becoming a career woman or becoming a wife. But, like you said, the economics of the situation, people aren't able to do this on their own anymore. So if you are making the decision to be a wife, that means your career is going to suffer,
That was
meaning
yeah.
you are
Yeah.
not going to be able to earn as much, meaning you won't be able to, like, the partnership, it won't be an equal partnership, so to speak. So ultimately, yes, as a man, I understand I'm going to have to provide. I'm not fighting anybody on that. I'm not arguing
Yeah.
with anybody on that. But the amount of help I'm going to be able to get from a partner who has chosen I'm just going to be a wife is markedly different from a woman who has said, you know what, I want to be a career woman, and
Well,
then
I
realizes, oh wait, let me switch this up. So
Well, I
how
would
do
have
you?
to disagree. Yeah, because that's not just being a wife though. Because as a wife, it is you have to be that helpmate
Okay,
and
that
actually
that was
understanding the role. So if you understand your role, right, as a wife, you're going to see that first. I'm not so obsessed with having to have this career, look this way, me do this thing. Instead, I'm more open to, well, what is the plan that my husband has? What are his work hours? If we're looking to have children, is there a way that I could work in a telework job around the time where I can, have my children at the same time, or be supportive to my husband, still be able to do the things he needs me to do, but be able to add a job into the equation? Because the focus has to be first, my dedication is to my husband and my family. And of course, how am I going to contribute? So, how am I going to work that into what it looks like alongside me being dedicated to my husband and my family? So, it's not like you're not doing anything, but it's more so your priorities are, how am I going to work this career, this job into the life of my family, not how am I going to work a family into a career, because that's a little less likely to work with when you have a man who has his own job and his own, you want him to be the leader. So you want him to create that vision and have that, hold that space for the family and what that structure looks like. But if you're already under a discipline and a structure of a job or career that's maybe very demanding, like a nurse or traveling nurse, or airline steward, or something that requires you and your schedules not to be aligned, then yeah, it's much harder for you to get into that relationship. And then you're having to sacrifice relationships just so you can fit into a job. But that doesn't work that way, to be honest. So it's about priorities. What are you prioritizing first? And then figuring out how then I can make this work.
Right.
What do you say? Okay, so let's go there. What are you saying to women that are in those, like a lawyer, doctor, nurse, flight attendant that's traveling? I think in Jay's defense a little bit,
I,
something does sacrifice.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's not even a defense, so to speak, like, because, I what she's saying is sort of what I was trying to get explicitly stated, because it's like
Hmm.
eventually somebody's going to have to do that. I mean, like
Yeah,
Rob said a little bit earlier, if whether you as the man decide, like, you know what, I do want to be a house husband, or whatever the case may be, somebody's going to have to make the decision to, you know what, this is what it's going to look like for us, whether it's, oh, I'm gonna stay at home with the kids while you go out and be Superman or Superwoman or whoever you want to be. And like the main thing is, like, there has to be a plan. Going back to
Right.
the whole thing, there has to be intention.
Right.
And if people have if people have different intentions, it's like, oh, hey, I'm here for family. It's like, oh, okay, but I'm here for career. Then those intentions may never align until
yeah,
somebody compromises, and
yeah.
Hmm.
that's essentially what I wanted to get to.
Right.
So
And you,
I guess. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
no, yeah, as long as you compromise, that's fine, but you have to play to your strengths.
Yes,
So
yeah,
you
True.
got to play to your strengths in this economy. You playing that game, that economic money game. So if the dad makes only 55,000, he's a garbage man, and mom is, the nurse working to be a doctor, you might have to be that dad that stay at home. It's just those are just the cards that you got, but because the game here is money. So
That's
you
a
got to
tough
make
conversation too.
right.
That's a
Yeah,
that's a hard conversation to have as far as a man.
it is.
It's
It
a
is.
very hard because that boosts the ego. It's like, oh man, especially if you, and not a really ego, but you want to bring that to the table,
but I mean,
right? That's a tough conversation.
but I
It
mean,
is.
the I think one thing that I'm realizing, especially, I'm getting older, we all are. One thing
Yeah,
I'm realizing is that, like, if we are playing that economic game at a certain point, within reason, at a certain point, you have to set your ego to the side and be like, look, this is what I need to do to make sure my family is provided for, my people are provided for, or
yeah,
I am provided for,
yeah,
and let's be real, sometimes it sucks, and it will. But
yeah,
if, you know, growing up, we never really see the you never really see the, the days where your father was just sitting on his bed in the morning trying to figure out why he's doing this. And how hard it is to get up at 6 a.m. and get your butt to the car and drive into the office and do and break your neck
To provide for his family.
for less than you think you're worth. Nobody ever has that conversation with you, but that's ultimately what it is to be a provider. It's
Yeah.
not fun, but it goes with the job.
Right.
All right. So to clarify here, we'll start with D. The age you're saying for a woman to get married is 21 to
You,
25.
you just wanna keep
I just want to.
I still stand on it. I
I
still
stand.
stand
No, no,
on
no, no.
it.
I just want to. No, I just want to clarify to make sure. So you're saying for women 21 to 25. What about for men?
Yeah, still the same. Within your 30s, some, if they're lucky, I know a lot of hardworking men. My husband wasn't quite in his 30s, but he was hardworking. He had his intentions. But
Okay.
30 usually is that time where you'll see men start to make that shift. So anytime after 30, and you have hit all those boxes of being able to at least continuously progress through life, and you know what you want your wife and her role to play, and you know you're ready for that to bring in that vision, and you're committed to that. And yeah, certainly a woman during that time, if you're genuinely knowing and you're seeing like, hey, this is something that I want to be. I heard that call to want to be a wife at like 8 years old, and that was
Yeah.
within. So that was
Yeah.
that natural instinct. So I know it's not, that may seem because of society, oh, women are immature. I don't even really think that. I
I
think
don't
that
think that either.
all women, yeah, all women hear that calling, but all around us, it's like you're bombarded with all these other ideas of how you should be versus just allowing yourself to give in to what you just naturally want to be anyway and work towards that. So if women are no longer fearful of that and they're able to recognize like what is my optimum time, for sure it
Mhm.
would be 21 to 25 during that time,
Okay.
especially if you've gone through life and you know what you want out of life and this is what you're willing to do. I think if that's the safest bet, also too, if you're wanting to be one of those women who own their own business or have that freedom to be able to work whatever job you want to do, it's a better time to take that investment time when you're younger to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get married, get that down pat, get into my family, maybe have a couple kids. And then when my kids, if you choose to send them to private school or public school, whatever it is, you have more free time to then go after that career that you want to go after, especially if you're able to work it into your regular duties and you don't choose to homeschool, whatever the case may be. Your options are more expanded if you do the core things first, which is getting your
Okay.
family and getting married. Your then options later are expanded versus if you've gone out in the world and you've gotten all these jobs and all this career, all this money, but your main thing that you want is that man and that family, and you're already, into the time where it's too late for you to have children. You're not really the men that you want to marry don't really want to marry you.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like you're more hit with more obstacles than opportunities, and that's
Okay.
not.
Rob, what about you? Men 30. What are your age range for men?
Yeah, 32 to 35.
32 to
Um,
35. Okay. For what
yeah,
about women? What about women?
the same 25, 21 to 25.
21 to
Like my wife.
25.
Yep.
Okay. Me, men, I think it's tough. I think there's still a little bit of period between 30 and 32, a little immature. Because 30, I think we start to get into our prime a little bit. You have choices to make. So I think about 31 to 35 for men. Women, I think
You said 21 to 29, right?
no.
25 to 29.
D made some good points. I questioned some points. She made because she made some points to where the as far as potential of women not having children, potential of men not wanting them. I do think that does happen, but I do think I do think I think for me maybe have to change it a little bit. 27. This is tough. Now I have to rethink because I am considering all her points. I think about 27 to no, I'll put it 25 to 29 because I
Okay.
do because I think there's a period of women that graduate from college and they do have a choice to make whether to have a career or choose to be a wife, and sometimes doing that can something does sacrifice. So at first I said 27 to 31. Now that you've made those points, I think I'm gonna have to maybe come back to maybe 25 to 29.
Now, do you think those women will actually be willing to sacrifice at that age? Because again, you got to remember, a lot of women at that age, they're like, I waited this long. I want a man that come with this, and this, and he got to come with this, and this, because I deserve
Uh
this, and I done worked myself up to this, and this.
the reason why I feel like the big part of it, I think I disagree a little bit between 21 and 25, 21 and 24 is because I think social media plays a part into it. I think women want to experience things when they're younger. I think women want to
Now,
be
what
able to.
benefit is that though? What are they experiencing that's benefiting them as a woman? Because what we perpetuate as what women need to experience is it's all about sexual promiscuity. That's what's being promoted to the younger generation. These 21 to
Correct.
25 year
Correct.
olds are being pushed the agenda of explore yourself, sexual liberation, have fun,
Yes.
do all, live
Yeah.
your life. Now, what benefit is that
It
to a
it
21
plays
to
no
25 year
benefit.
old?
It plays no benefit. But at the
It
age of
does.
21, and I will say this, I don't think on both fronts, men and women, there isn't that kind of mentor to say, hey, at this age, right, you got two choices to make, right? This is the benefit of if you're choosing to be a wife, you're looking to build a marriage, you're looking to build a relationship, you're looking to grow a family, have a family, the benefits is this, right? But social media society tells us, hey, don't get married that young, right? Experience, like you said, sexual experiences, go out and experience it, and that even those sexual experiences that can bring children out of wedlock, out of having
Right,
multiple baby
exactly. And
fathers,
Exactly.
that's the
out
risk.
of yeah,
Why
and
risk
that is the risk. But I think that comes from not having proper mentorship. And the
yeah,
problem is that proper mentorship, they're encouraging and teaching our men and women to not get married that young. And for me,
yeah.
in my opinion, I feel like I've always had the notion that women do mature quicker than men, right? But I just feel like I don't know. From what I'm seeing, I think women 21 to 25, I think they're still trying to I think they're still being a little bit competitive. I think there's a
I,
Yes,
competitive
but
nature.
and that's you have to bring an awareness to what's the other option. In a way, by you telling women that that's too young, you're perpetuating that narrative that they should wait. When in all actuality, at 21, you need to be exercising the option of figuring out if you want to be a wife.
Okay.
That's the only way we're going to bring about this change. We can't keep telling women, "Oh, just because it's out here social media and you're experiencing all of that." We have to teach women how to block out all of that and
Yeah.
recognize and listen to the inside of you of what you really feel is right. What is your Because we mature at a much at a much younger age, we have that capability to sit back and think and figure out, is this what I want to really do? But the problem is we don't have enough of us telling us, yes, honey, at 21 years old, you need to be thinking about being a wife. You don't need
Yeah.
to be out here trying to exercise your options and explore those options, because they could lead to some devastating results that are going to end up ruining the whole option of being married in the first
Right.
place. Why risk all
Yeah.
of that?
That's how we
I
got here.
on it.
Yeah.
Jay, so men for you, what is a good appropriate age for men to get married?
appropriate age, I would honestly, I'm gonna hit the middle ground between Rob and D. I think the the age range for men, if you are like Rob said, if you are intentional, I would
Mhm.
say the best age range for men would be between 25 and 35. Uh,
Men.
for
Wow.
men, I would say between 25 and
Wow. Wow.
because
Okay.
why?
That's a huge
Because
range. Okay.
it's a huge range, but it depends on intention. Because I
Okay.
know, like for instance, I went to my younger cousin's engagement this weekend, right?
Okay.
He's younger than me. He's several years younger than me. He's in his 20s.
Okay.
He is somebody who, like, I've watched this brother since he grew up. He has been intentional. He has been interested in, like, hey, I'm trying to build a career. I'm trying to be a husband at some point. He's been intentional about that. So that means he is on a path where like, hey, I have a good job and I'm going to grow into like my economic potential is only going to go up. He's
Okay.
in that place right now.
Okay.
So if he does get if he does end up with a wife, it's like, hey, we can grow together. Cool. You are going
Okay.
to watch me grow into this man who at 35 earns six figures, can pay for his own house, all of that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So he's in a spot where the struggle love isn't so much of a struggle. So
Okay. Okay.
those are the men I'm talking about from 20, like the younger men who I'm talking about.
Okay. What about women?
For women, I would say in the interest of like me, I think a big thing for me, we've talked about this on the show before, is the three C's: compatibility, chemistry, and connection. And I
Okay.
think it is easier to be compatible with somebody who is in your age range. So I'm gonna say within the
Woo.
same age range,
What age
so
range? Which age range?
that 25 to 35 age.
25 to 35. Okay. So
Now,
you okay.
one thing I will say is that, and I've experienced this personally, I've seen that women who end up in their 30s without children tend to be in a rush to have children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I would say if if you are not concerned about children, then sure, go on ahead and get married later. But if you are interested in being a mother at some point, I would say your prime window will more than likely be between 25 and 29.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm going to,
I
like I
would say that also depends on how many children you're trying to have
that
too.
that
Because
part
a
Yeah,
lot
too.
of
that's true.
women, you want just one kid, you want two, three. How do you want to space them apart? Do you all want them back to back to back to back? All of that
Yeah.
makes a play on your mental and your psyche. And I
And
think
that's
as women,
tough in
it's
your
important for us
30s.
to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
tough in your 30s. Yeah.